Good morning. Oh, it's not really morning. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's Sunday, and Sunday is my off day, so I don't get out of my night clothes or really do anything on Sunday. So, sorry about my microphone. I still have to get a USB mic, but it looks like you can hear me pretty well. I don't know. Anyway, a couple days ago, or maybe even like a week ago, I made the video response to Angie the anti-theist. Sorry, Angie the anti-theist video about her abortion, and all differences that she and I might have regarding our spiritual opinions out of the way. I don't think what she did was wrong. I mean, my opinions are summed up in that video. If you're really that curious, you can go watch it. It was like the last video I made. So, I made that video without like reading her blog or really getting to know anything about her. Ooh. So today or this morning, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I started following her on Twitter the day that all this abortion shit like broke in the news media, and I never really take that much notice of her Twitter. No offense. I have other followers that have higher priority that I talk to on a daily basis, or at least a semi-daily basis. So I noticed this morning nobody was really tweeting, and I saw that Angie, her tweets were coming up, and they were basically automated tweets from FormSpring, that she had been answering questions from people on FormSpring. So, I ask atheists a lot of questions anyway, and I think some people, one of my biggest issues with atheism is that they only talk about God from the Christian viewpoint most of the time, or at the very least the Abrahamic viewpoint of all the Abrahamic religions. So I began to take a look at Angie the Anti-Theist's FormSpring, and she is a self-proclaimed anti-theist. She does not believe in God. She promotes being godless. However, she limits the definition and the possibility of what God may be just as much as a Christian does, because she is only looking at the possibility of what God could be from the Christian viewpoint. There are some questions here on her FormSpring that, someone asks, if you were somehow miraculously convinced that the God of the Old Testament was real, do you think you would be able to worship him? And she talks about how she couldn't possibly follow him because he's basically he's a douchebag, he's a prick, etc., etc. She goes on to say, someone else asks, I've noticed that some people and even press have suggested that your atheism is a result of hating or having beef with God. And this person just said having beef with God. They didn't mention anything about any religion. And she says, if the God of the Bible did exist, I'd want to kick him in the nuts. Okay, so let's just say, the God of the Bible doesn't exist. What about the definition of what God could be outside of the limitations that the canonized version and even non-canonized version of the Bible, limitations that those two things put on God? For me, I was raised Christian, and around age 13 or 14, I began to really heavily question the Christian church, and subsequently left the Christian church never to go back. But since then, I have found my own personal spirituality, I guess you could say. And to me, I do not limit the possibilities of what God could be. I don't put silly limitations on God. To me, God is science, God is universe, God is the explained and the unexplained, God is the evil as well as the good. God is everything, and God is the underlying mass consciousness of our universe, that key vibrational tone that resonates throughout everything that exists in our universe. That is God, and God is also so much more. I do not define God based upon what the Bible says, canonized or non-canonized. I do not define God based on any religion. And I notice that atheists who claim not to believe in God at all define God based almost completely on Abrahamic religions. So I go to Angie the Anti-Theist blog, and I'm reading her long story short, and she's telling her story, blah, 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 blah. She says her grandmother ran over and killed a pedestrian while I was in the front seat when I was 7. And I gotta say, I'm pretty pissed at religion. So once again, she is an anti-theist or atheist looking at God from a religious viewpoint. My question is, why don't atheists, as well as Christians, step outside their little box of what Christianity has told them God is and look beyond all of that, look beyond that doctrine? To me, atheists are as closed-minded, if not more closed-minded than Christians, and they're actually very similar. They're more similar than different because they both acknowledge the same God. Of course, one doesn't believe in existence, but this God of the Bible is still very acknowledged by atheists and vehemently acknowledged by atheists. Almost to the point where I'm like, wait, what? If you don't believe, don't believe, but why put so much energy into it? It's almost like you're trying to convince yourself. I don't know. But anyhow, why, I'm at 7 minutes here, why don't atheists step outside the box when it comes to God? Stop looking at what God may or may not be according to the Bible, or according to the Torah, or the Pentateuch, or the Talmud, or the Quran. Step outside of those Abrahamic walls and try to find a personal spirituality. I believe that we all have I believe that we all have personal spirituality. Even if you believe in science, why can't science be God? Why put such a steep limitation on what God may or may not be? I really don't understand it, and that's my gripe with atheists for the moment, and particularly my gripe with Angie the Anti-Theist. Charlie, get over here.